The 1986 Great American Truck Racing Detroit Diesel Allison Cup Series kicked off at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway in Fayetteville, North Carolina on May 4th. Charlie Baker in the Doyle Morrissey 39 turned fast time with Dick Murtaugh in the 33 second quickest. When the green flag dropped for the feature, Dick Murtaugh dropped out to an early lead with Baker settling in to second. Murtaugh began to open up his lead but got tangled up with a lap truck going into turn 1 on lap 42. Charlie Baker inherited the point as Murtaugh lost 2 laps in the pits for a tire change. Baker dominated the second half of the race and drove home to victory in the 100-lap event. Murtaugh made up one of his 2 laps lost and was able to capture second, with Bob Lashley in the Blackjack 21 rounding out the top 3. For the second time in a row, Charging Charlie Baker and his Detroit diesel-powered Kenworth took the checkered flag at Pocono International Raceway's Dryden Heavy Lubes Big Rig 100 on May 25th. And right behind them were 4 other hard-charging DDA-powered race trucks. Luther Burton in the number 93, E.J. Utley in number 5, Jim Schreffler in the number 40, and Shauna Robinson in her pink and black number 3. Baker showed what kind of a contest it was going to be by running away from the rest of the field in the first heat. But Dick Murtaugh's number 33 was only a few seconds off Baker's pace in taking the second heat. Burton, who had been eliminated because of mechanical problems in the first heat, stormed back to take the consolation race by a wide margin. Murtaugh didn't get the chance to give Baker a real challenge, however. On the last lap of his winning heat, his steering box failed, rendering his power steering useless. He switched to his brand new backup truck, number 43, for the main race. Utley took the lead when the green flag was dropped, but Baker's number 39 passed him on the 6th lap, and Charlie never looked back. At the end of the race, he was a half a lap ahead of Burton and nearly a full lap in front of Utley, who finished 3rd. He may not have been the fastest man on the track, but Dick Murtaugh capitalized on the miscue of Charlie Baker and the misfortune of Luther Burton to capture the Canadian Big Rig 150 at Cayuga International Speedway. A sun-drenched capacity crowd of 15,000 saw 2 exciting 75-lap features worth over $50,000 in prize money and contingency awards. In the first half of the twin bill, Luther Burton from Columbus, Indiana in the number 93 and Charlie Baker of New Oxford, Pennsylvania in the Doyle Morrissey 39 ran away from the rest of the field. The pair were never more than a truck length apart throughout the race as they lapped the rest of the big rigs. Burton appeared to be in control until they came up to lap the 3rd place truck of Bob Lashley on lap number 60. Baker dove underneath Burton down the front chute in lap traffic to assume the point. Burton tried to retake the lead, but Charging Charlie was not to be denied. Dick Murtaugh, who wasn't really a factor in the first feature, did make a couple of nifty moves late in the race to pick up a 3rd place finish. The top 8 finishers in the first feature were inverted for the start of the second 75-lapper. The first real mishap of the day came in the opening laps of the second race when Murtaugh tried to squeeze under the 69 of Jeff Salmon. They brushed wheels going into turn 3, and both bobtails spun out of control to the inside apron of the track. On the restart, Baker and Burton quickly worked their way to the front, and it looked like a carbon copy of the first feature. With a clear track ahead on lap 50, Baker put a low move on Burton down the front stretch, once again. But this time, Charlie didn't get the bite he needed going into the first turn. The back end of the truck came around, and just as it looked like Charlie was going to save it, the rig did a reverse spin into the unyielding Cayuga concrete wall. Burton didn't escape unscathed either, as Baker clipped his rear bumper, forcing Luther to the pits for repairs. This put E.J. Utley of Orlando, Florida in the lead with his Little Mac number 5 on the restart, with Dick Murtaugh right on his tail. They ran 1-2 for several laps, and with 5 to go, Murtaugh jammed his Stack Equipment 33 under Utley down the front straight. After some wheel banging and fender scraping, Murtaugh assumed the lead. Dick opened up a 2-car length advantage until the final circuit. In a last-ditch effort, Utley made a run at Murtaugh exiting turn 4. The trucks made contact, and the finish was nothing less than spectacular. Murtaugh got sideways, and Utley, with only the outside lane open, made a run for it. Murtaugh, trying to gather up the 12,000-pound truck, slid back to the outside and pinned Utley into the front stretch cement. Murtaugh spun across the finish line first, heading sideways toward the infield, inches ahead of E.J., who rolled the wall to the checkers. Murtaugh was proclaimed the overall winner by virtue of his third and first place finishes, pocketing an additional $1,000 bonus and the lion's share of the Detroit Diesel Allison Cup points. Murtaugh also received bonuses from Texaco Ursa and Paul Filters. The Midsummer Dryden Oil New York Big Rig Tour played to near-capacity crowds at West Lebanon, Middletown, and on the New York State Fair Mile Dirt Oval at Syracuse. The popular series produced 3 winners during the hot, action-packed week, with Cummins-powered Bob Lashley and Detroit Diesel stalwarts E.J. Utley and Dick Murtaugh showing their bobtails to the rest of the field and picking up the lion's share of the $90,000 purse offered. The 3 dirt race tour was not without its share of drama, with flips, protests, and a heroic overnight truck rebuild spicing the action. Opening night at Lebanon Valley Speedway saw 58-year-old Bob Lashley driving a hot blackjack racing team Kenworth. He outran Luther Burton's GMC in the 100-lapper over the half-mile High Bank Speedway. Local modified champ Tommy Corellis, driving a rented Western Star, placed a creditable third in his first big rig start. 2 days later, the Tour Tractor Pros moved on to Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown for an 86-lapper on the flat 5/8-mile dirt. Florida truck parts refurbisher E.J. Utley launched a full-scale Mac attack and led from start to finish. The race was marred by a spectacular flip by 21-year-old Iowan Shauna Robinson. In the process of being lapped by Dick Murtaugh, Robinson was experiencing throttle problems and was boxed in by another truck. She was wrapped hard in the rear by Murtaugh, lost control, ramming the fence, and flipped upside down. The dazed driver crawled through the broken front window and was taken to a local hospital to be checked for an elbow injury. Robinson's $50,000 Dryden Oil rig was declared a total washout. But this evaluation was a bit premature. After the race, the Dryden Oil Company pulled in 15 top-notch mechanics. They worked day and night and had Robinson back in action on the Syracuse dirt 2 days later after replacing the cab and straightening the frame. A sea of mud greeted the big rig racers upon their arrival at the Syracuse Mile. A large crowd waited patiently while earth movers scraped the surface. Their patience was rewarded with a hard-fought dirt race which saw Murtaugh emerge victorious after a close battle with former winner Charlie Baker. Baker pulled his Doyle Morrissey Kenworth even with Murtaugh on the backstretch of the final lap, but was unable to complete the pass as the pair approached the historic dirt track's treacherously narrow third turn at better than 100 miles an hour. After the initial green flag was unfurled at Syracuse, it didn't take long for the fireworks to begin. On the 4th lap, Andy Lee hit a deep rut and bounced into Ron Benedict's Kenworth. The impact broke Benedict's left front spring shackle. Unable to steer, Benedict rammed the outside wall full bore, knocking the front end completely off his truck. Uninjured, he faced several weeks of rebuilding before he could get back into racing action. On lap 54, Shauna Robinson's luck ran out once again when a water hose came loose, and she stuffed her rig into the wall coming off the second corner. Don Norman, in an effort to avoid her, hit the inside fence and wound up straddling the fence with his Ford. A wrecker lifted him off, and he continued racing to finish 15th. Several laps later, Buddy Albertson slammed into the third turn wall, severely damaging his Peterbilt. Murtaugh received a standing ovation from his hometown fans as he crossed the finish line after 2 hours and 5 minutes of racing. In a post-race interview, he gave much of the credit to his crew and especially engine builder Rick Patterson, who put together a special engine for his stack equipment LPS Enterprises Western Star. Coming off the New York State 3-race dirt series, Charlie Baker led the points with 1,486, followed by Murtaugh with 1,444 and Luther Burton with 1,436 points. The last race of the season was held at the Toledo Speedway, and it would ultimately determine the Detroit Diesel Allison Cup point standings. Dick Murtaugh looked strong in the stack equipment number 33, winning his heat race and turning fast time. Outstanding rookie challenger Jim Schreffler secured the outside pole in the Schreffler Racing number 40. Dick Murtaugh assumed the lead at the start and seemed to be in control. Charlie Baker followed Murtaugh into second from his second row inside starting berth. On lap 47, Murtaugh peeled a right front tire and was forced to pit. Charlie Baker then went from bridesmaid to bride and was never headed as he lapped the entire field. Murtaugh charged back up through the field to capture second, and Luther Burton in the Buckhorn number 93 finished third. The win at Toledo clinched the Detroit Diesel Allison Cup point standings for Charlie Baker with 1,756. Dick Murtaugh was second with 1,699. Luther Burton finished third, tallying 1,676 points. E.J. Utley finished fourth with 1,661, and Bob Lashley rounded out the top five with 1,544 points.